Every summer, the wonderful surroundings of Chateau Impney come alive to the sights and sounds of motorsport. Hello there, I'm here in the beautiful Worcestershire countryside, but I'm not here to enjoy the wildlife because for one weekend every year the grounds of the incredible Chateau Impney echo to the sounds of screaming engines and tortured tyres as racing takes centre stage. Over 200 competitors in a vast range of machinery of varying ages will do battle on the twisty hill climb, fighting it out for glory and claim the 2019 trophy.
These events are so popular, and that's because a lot of the barriers are broken and allows people to get access.
The atmosphere is amazing. It's a really nice, calm event.
And it's a fantastic hill. I mean, there's lots of cool corners, and the roundabout up there in this, absolutely fantastic, just sideways all the way around.
It's time to get on with the action, and we start with some of the oldest cars here. And yes, some of these machines may be considered antiques, but trust me, they can still shift, and the drivers are going to be pushing hard. Let's join Martin Haven.
All the competitors here will do timed runs up this tough course that weaves its way through the woodlands, passing the crowds. After blasting away from the start line, it's a fast run up to the left-hander at Raven's Crest, then accelerated by the Chateau, but there's no time to take in the view. Your focus will be drawn by the hard braking area into the roundabout. Then it's uphill and a sprint to cross the line, hopefully with a good finish time. Sue Derbyshire blasts away from the line in her 1929 Morgan Super Aero. This is the unsupercharged cars up to 1500cc pre-1940. This little car in circuit races will do 120 miles an hour on three wheels. Maybe not here though. First to take a real flying tilt at the hill through Raven's Crest. Head down behind the tiny aero screen. She is really pushing on from the word go. This is Jonathan Fenning, 1936 Fraser-Nash Emerson. 48.63 the time for Sue Derbyshire. 1500cc four-cylinder engine here in the Fraser-Nash. Trying to get those skinny tyres to deliver the traction. It may not look quite as dramatic. Guy Spollen now in the HRG with its 1500cc Meadows engine. Jonathan Fenning's time 48.35. He goes a little quicker than the Morgan. This HRG from 1936. Nice smooth run from the Chateau owner. Tim Neller next up in the 33 Riley TT Sprites. Guy Spollen's time 48.62. Puts him in second at the moment. This car built in 1933, but it's only been used in competition for the last 5 years. Riley's always a spirited car, the TT Sprite in great hands. This is Richard Hudson in his 1925 Bentley Red Label, the 3.4.5. And the Riley Sprite fastest so far, 47.68. We're in the pre-1940 unsupercharged cars, as you may gather from over 1500cc. Ewan Gentley charging in his 1924 Bentley 3-litre, looking really alive, right up on its toes. Bentleys, of course, in this era became Le Mans winners. 51.19 was the time for Richard Hudson. Are we going to go quicker? I think we are. Lots of attack. He goes 49.39, top Bentley. Marcus Black in the 39 Talbot Largo. It's T23 with a 4-litre 6-cylinder engine, little axle hop as he gets on the brakes hard. Always a spirited competitor. This is such a fabulous looking racing machine. Cycle Mudguard's aero screen, lots of aggression, really looking impressively quick past the Chateau. Down to the roundabout. Nicely controlled. Not too much wheel spin either. Talbot Largo goes 47.67, quickest so far. This is Dr. David Price's Morgan 4.4. Goes back to 1936. This is for sports specials and supercharged sports cars over 1500cc. Morgan, of course, in the Malvern Hills, still making cars by hand, just down the road from the Chateau. And Morgan with a fantastic competitive streak. That's a great time, 45.89 for him. Greg Lerigo in his Riley Special, 1500cc four-cylinder Riley. Hand-built body. Riley started making bikes in Coventry in 1890. Built cars into the latter part of last century. 47.66 for the Riley Special. This is Mike News, Riley 12.4. 1935. Whoa! And a big spin. No damage done, but just a little too early on the throttle there for the tyres. Class 4 for supercharged sports cars over 1500cc, and this is one of the greatest of them all, 1926 Bugatti Type 35B. The blown six-cylinder, driven by Mike Preston. Certainly the prettiest, arguably the greatest of Ettore Bugatti's creations. What a fabulous device to watch and hear in action, and driven with great verve as well. 50.26 for the Bug, and this is another very familiar sight at the Chateau. The Bentley Ford V8 Special, 4.1 litre V8, about as far away from a purebred racing Bugatti as you can get, developed from road car roots. Great looking device and driven always with such great verve by Mark Brett. Really pushing on. This is going to challenge for the fastest run so far. Nice stuff. Out the chicane and charging for the line then. Final corner and across he goes. Well, a good run from Matt Brett to put him second. Greg Lerigo is in third, but David Price is top of the pile.
This year marks the 60th anniversary of the legendary Mini, and we're celebrating that here at Chateau Impney with a wonderful display showing them off in their many different guises, some of which I didn't know about, and I imagine even Alec Isagonis couldn't have envisaged when he designed them back in the late 1950s. The secret of its success is the use of a transverse engine that helped keep the car compact and with some great handling. So good, in fact, that when it was tweaked by the Cooper Company, it went on to win the Monte Carlo Rally 3 times. In fact, here is one of the winners. Throughout the 1960s, the Mini's compact design quickly garnered favour with the public, and with the likes of the Beatles and Twiggy wanting to be seen in them, as well, of course, as a starring role in the Italian Job, its place in modern popular culture was secured. There's plenty more still to come from here at Chateau Impney, but in the meantime, hang on lads, I've got an idea. The first ever Chateau Impney Hillclimb took place in September 1957. It quickly developed a reputation as arguably the prettiest and most challenging of its kind. Back then, the course ran for just 800 yards, threading its way between the trees in the grounds of the Chateau. In 2015, when the event began its second incarnation, the course was extended to 1,000 yards, making it even more of a challenge.
Hi, I'm David Brabham. I've raced in Formula 1 and Le Mans, and I'm going to give you a guide to the course. As I'm sitting there waiting for the lights to change, my heart is pounding. I launch away from the start line, trying to maximise the speed of the first turn. Then it's Bridge Corner, a tricky, sharp left-hander that I've been told can easily catch you out with those who dare to not respect it. Before weaving between the trees up to Raven's Nest, here you get the car in close as possible to the trees before exiting and putting your foot down in front of the chateau. Then you get to the roundabout. The track dips away here and you have to fight the steering as the car goes light. On the exit, you need to keep the revs up, leaving the slowest part of the course, and it's only a short blast before the tight Corbett chicane. Then you're onto the home stretch with a quick wiggle through the paddock S's before crossing the line and finishing what has to be one of the shortest races of my career.
This is one of the most unusual cars here at Chateau Impney. Would have 3 wheels, you've converted it to 4. Just tell us what you're driving.
So this is the Morgan Rip Special. Started off life as a Morgan 3-wheeler. And then I think about 25 years ago, my father decided 3 wasn't enough. So he took the rear axle from a GN and whacked it on this. No diff, just original bevel box and gears and everything from the Morgan. Just the back axle from the GN. No diff or anything, so it goes sideways like anything. It's exactly what you want.
So it's crazy fun to drive?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. It's like being in a go-kart.
And in terms of the chassis, it must be very lightweight. What is that, like an oak frame?
Yeah, so the body is an oak and canvas construction. It's sort of vaguely modelled on a canoe, I think.
A fast racing canoe with 4 wheels and a big fat engine.
With a big old V-twin, yeah.
Back to the action on the hill with the oldest car here. This is Duncan Pittaway's 1903 Mercedes 60 horse with its 9.2 litre 4-cylinder big banger engine. Duncan Pittaway loves an odd car or two. He owns the fire-breathing Beast of Turin. And that might be a little bit more of a handful here than Chateau Impney can really manage up the hill climb. Pittaway always quick, 58.97 for the 1903 Merc. This is Class 6's Andy Storr, the Isigonis Lightweight Special, built by Sir Alec Isigonis, the designer of the Mini and Morris Minor. Racer and test bed for all his ideas, celebrating 60 years of the Mini this year. And Andy Storr goes 56.32. Ben Mayer's family event for the Mayor's family, Dad also racing. It's the Morgan Rip Special with its wooden frame. As eccentric as it looks, and what a handful it is as well, but Ben really pushing on here. Great attack from him. The racing canoe with the twin engine up front. 52.0 for the Morgan Rip Special. Into Class 7 now, Ben Fiddler with a little bit more of a thoroughbred here. 1936 ERA AJM1. ERA founded by the great British Grand Prix ace Raymond Mays at his home in Louth in Lincolnshire. And that was a great time from the ERA, 44.53. Duncan Ricketts now, another legendary hill charger. And this is his 1939 Parnell Challenger, built by Reg Parnell before World War II, but wasn't raced then. 44.53, fastest of all so far from the ERA. This is more of a handful for Duncan Ricketts. And he goes 46.91. Tony Lees in the 1925 GN Cognac. GN made hill climb specials, big and little, and this with its snarling 6-cylinder 2-litre engine. Another fine device on the hills. Wide front track, narrow rear. It's the way they were built in those days. On the loose surfaces, they were excellent. Second fastest for the GN, 45.22. On board now with James Stewart Baxter in his 1935 Riley Sprite ERA. 6-cylinder 2-litre engine. See just how bare the car is of any fripperies or fancies. Absolutely piling on the speed here. This is a very spirited run indeed. Nice stuff, nicely controlled. Down into the roundabout. And up he comes, up the hill, through the chicane. Looking very quick indeed, flirting with the barriers. And this is Nick Topless in R4D, one of the most famous of all the ERAs. Fastest time of all, by the way, for the Riley Sprite with its ERA motor. And this ERA R4D now in its 81st year of competition. Quite incredible and super successful on the hills. This is Ian Baxter in the Alta 2-litre 4-cylinder engine. That was a bit of a handful there for a moment. R4D, by the way, 43.59, fast but not quite. But the 37 Alta absolutely flying. George Abacassis won at Crystal Palace in this car in 1938, beating Prince Bira. And this is going to be a close fourth thing as well. Charging up towards the hill. Will he get into the 43s? Can he get into the 42s? That's the time to beat. No. James Stewart Baxter, 42.99 on top from Nick Topless, with Ian Baxter in third.
"2019 is the centenary of Bentley, and to celebrate this historic year for this iconic British marque, there are several of their glorious machines on display.
Well, it's a fabulous year for Bentley, and to be part of those celebrations is great. And for people to actually pick the car out and say, oh, it's a blower Bentley, that's special. But every Bentley, every WO Bentley is a special car. And yeah, it's just such a thrilling year. And yeah, it's great. So, I mean, where would you get this mix of WO Bentleys? It's just fabulous.
Tell me about this wonderful machine.
So this is a 1930 blower Bentley, so 4.5 litre supercharged. It's all matching numbers, original, one of the 55 cars built for to modulate the Le Mans cars. And this car was sold with a Vanden Plas touring body on it, but in 1970 it was restored to an open sports tourer. The car is actually, since 1994, I've actually driven this car personally 72,000 miles now. So it's a very capable car, great on the road, and will cruise happily at 74 miles an hour all day.
How does it feel to drive this wonderful car?
Bugatti was famous for saying that these were the fastest trucks in the world, and yeah, it is a bit truck-esque. The steering wheel is 19 inches in diameter. It's the largest of the steering wheels of the Bentleys, and that was purely to give you the leverage to steer it because of the weight of the supercharger on the front axle. So it is incredibly heavy to drive.
What are we looking at in terms of value? How much would you be insuring this for?
About 4.5 to 5 million. This is actually insured for £4.5 million.
See, that would play on my mind every time I use the indicator, which presumably is your arm, is it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, no, we can be a bit techno. We do pay homage to modern technology there.
On display and doing some demo runs up the hill is the legendary Babs, a car with an incredible history. Geraint, I would suggest that Babs has the most fascinating and mythical backstory of any of the cars here at Chateau Impney this weekend.
Well, it was built first of all in 1923 by Count Louis Zabrowski. It's essentially the fourth of the Chitty Bang Bang cars, but he called it the High-End Special because he'd got fed up with numbering things. But before he could use it to any great degree, and it was a road car, he was killed in an accident, and it was bought by Parry Thomas, who was at that stage Britain's leading race driver at Brooklands. And Thomas used it in 1925 to try and break the land speed record and failed, and went back to Pendine in 1926 and broke the record first at 169 and then the following day at 171 miles an hour. Malcolm Campbell then broke the record at 174 in the Bluebird that had cost him £10,000 to build, where Thomas had paid £125 for this. And then the following year, Thomas went back to Pendine, 1927, and the car crashed while he was trying to break the record, and Thomas was killed. So the car was buried in the sand dunes, and Thomas was buried at Byfleet near the Brooklands track where he lived.
But the amazing thing is that the story doesn't end there. So it goes from being a chitty chitty bang bang car to the fastest car in the world for a while, to a car that then sadly the driver was killed and it was abandoned, ditched in a sand dune, and there it lay.
Yeah, and so then the other side of the sort of story, when you dig a hole and you're about to tip a car in 1927, turns out that you take a selfie. It's no different today. The only thing was that someone with a box brownie took a photo of all the guys from the, who dug the hole leaning on their shovels before they tipped the car in. And the photograph of them all stood there in a row was on the wall of the pub in the centre of Pendine. And there were two chimney pots poking out the top that lined up with a house on the hill in the background. And Father asked the landlord of the pub whether he could take this photo for a day. And he wandered round the dunes and went, it's there. And being a proud Welshman, my father thought, well, I'm going to go and dig Babs up, and even if I only get a crankshaft to put in a museum, at least there will be something tangible to remember Parry Thomas by. I'm very privileged to get to use it and show it off at events like this.
Whether you've spent the day enjoying all the beautiful machinery or trying to set the fastest time charging up the hill, come evening, it's time to switch off and enjoy some hospitality Chateau Impney style. Saturday evening at the Chateau is party time and a chance to give your dancing feet a good workout into the small hours. Alongside all the action that's happening on the track, there's plenty around the grounds of the Chateau for kids of all ages.
The vintage fun fair is always popular at the Chateau. And the Wall of Death just simply takes your breath away. If that's all a little too pacey for you, and who can argue, perhaps just peruse the market stalls at your leisure or grab something to eat and drink. The Land Rover experience was a huge hit with both big and little off-roaders. And there was the Michelin Supercar Expo, a chance to get up close to some truly exotic machinery. Some impressive stunt driving entertained the crowd and worked through a few sets of tyres, while the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight's thundering Lancaster drew all eyes to the heavens.
Arguably the busiest man here this weekend is Rod Spollen, who has the unenviable task of pulling all this together.
Well, we're really trying to exceed expectations every year, and this year is no different, both on track and off track. We've got bikes for the first time as competition vehicles on the course with a brand new ACU licence. We've got a fantastic array of rally cars, but also both a 100th anniversary of Bentley Motors and a celebration around that with some unbelievably historic cars, as well as a 60th anniversary of the Mini. So really lots to play for on track. And off track, we've got loads of family content, including the Severn Valley Railway, steam train, and the Wall of Death. And things like the Lancaster bomber flying inches off the top of the Chateau's roof. It's just fantastic.
Back to the action on the hills, and the car's getting quicker and quicker. This is the Type 59 Bugatti of Charles Nill Jones. 6 cylinders, 3.5 litres. This is the Class 9 pre-1940 racing cars over 3 litres. And again, the Bugatti, longer, faster, more powerful version of the then outclassed Type 35. Julian Grimwade, Fraser Nash, Norris Special, 3.5 litre 6-cylinder in this car as well from 1934. Bugatti, by the way, 47.95. This is a very impressive run though from Julian Grimwade. Really got the hammer down nice and early, got it hooked up off the line, carrying lots of speed past the Chateau. No time to wave to friends and family. You need all your concentration from the roundabout as you drop in there. Very easy to let the front go light and understeer wide, or the back break away from you. Through the chicane here, keeping the speed up is so critical to a good time, and this is a good looking time. He's going to go top of Class 9, and it's a 44.50 for Grimwade. Post-war now with the 1952 Creamer Specialist. So much a classic 500cc racer, a Formula 3 of its day. This is Mark Riley. He's actually raced in the Formula 3 500cc Championship in period. He goes 45.16 Simon Brown in a Mark IV Cooper, dating from 1950. Another 1100cc V-twin. thumping away behind at the driver's head. Even the greats like Sterling Moss learned to race in cars like these, with their distinctive look and sound. 44.77 for Simon Brown. This is Mark Woodhouse, father of previous winner Jack, in his 1959 Elva. And this is a classic front-engined Formula Junior racing car, 4-cylinder 1100cc, like a mini van wall, very much the front-engine Grand Prix car shrunk down to acceptable size. And again, another quick car on the hills, superbly driven by Mark Woodhouse. Very competitive run, and he goes 43.05, second quickest. Into the sports cars then. This is the up to 2.2 litre entry. This is the Cooper Bobtail. And this car, a little bit more of a handful under braking, and clips the roundabout. It got away from him just as it all went light, and that's a shame. That was shaping up for a good run. 1955 TVR prototype driven by Andrew Lovett, a very early piece of Blackpool machinery. The TVR name, of course, an abbreviation of the owner, Trevor Wilkinson. And you can even in this early model see the shape of things to come, and not least in the use of lightweight materials for the bodywork. Big powerful engine, plastic body, that was very much what TVR was all about for many, many years, that and driver excitement. And that was the Formula 2 with Colin Chapman's 1959 Lotus 7 Series 1, as seen here, driven by Peter Joy. The TVR, by the way, a 5108. This is an early model of the kind that were built in their hundreds by enthusiastic drivers and really put Lotus on the map. It looks absolutely fabulous and goes at least as well as it looks. Top of the class run for Peter Joy, 46.26. James Stewart Baxter still top of the pile, but Mark Woodhouse moves into second.
Out in the grounds, it's the Concours d'Elegance, an incredible lineup of classic machinery celebrating motoring heritage, with everything from an Aston Martin DB6 to one of these, an immaculate 1911 Talbot. So David, here we are at your Concours d'Elegance. You're responsible for choosing the vehicles here that are on display, ready to be judged by the public and a panel of experts. First and foremost, what's the theme this year?
So the theme this year is through the years, and what we've done is we've kind of categorised them pre-1925, 26 to 51, 51 to 76, and then present day. So we've got 4 core areas of vehicle age in the cars.
Is the plan to choose just one car, or is it which is better between, in the public's opinion, between the two that you've matched up?
Overall, we've got 2 criteria, well, 2 types of judging. One is the people judging, so we've done that online prior to the event, and also visitors are selecting the vehicle, and it's really which one takes their fancy. And then we've got 3 esteemed judges, Vicky Butler-Henderson, Alex Riley and Harry Metcalf, and they are and then they're judging more on originality, provenance, the history and the stories behind it.
Have you got a personal favourite? I've had a bit of a peruse. I know which one I would be choosing, but how about yourself?
I have to say I really like the Talbot. The Talbot Tourer, yes. Yeah. Beautifully restored.
It looks very comfortable.
It's very fantastic. But then you could look at the Model T van, which is an original. It looks like it's a toy almost, but it's original, very distinct. You know, how do you choose? And that's always a good difficulty, and that's why we've tried to also make it difficult for both the public and our judges. It comes down to the senses as much as anything.
Out of the 8 cars, I have to pick one. It would be, you would think it was a simple thing to do. No, it's really tricky because they're from such different eras, and that you have to sort of get your head into, you know, like 1912 and then 1990s, and so it's difficult. But I'm just going to let my heart rule my head and pick the winner from in here.
Vicky, she's very soft. She's just like, oh, that's lovely. What a lovely colour. I look at the originality, I look at the provenance, I look at all the elements to make sure that we make the correct decision. So you've got to try and sort of drill down into what makes it special? What is this a very good example? Is it a rare one? Does it have a great story? I mean, it's not science.
In the end, a clear win for the film star looks of the 1931 Alfa 6C, a hit with the fans and the judges alike.
One of the best things about the Chateau Impney Hillclimb is just how close you can get to the cars. Not just here in the paddock, but also when you're watching them out on the track. Charles, first up, tell us about this lovely green Mini that you're sitting in front of.
So, for fun, we have a recreation of John Rose's 1966 European and British Touring Car Championship winning car. It's a real pleasure to be driving here at the Chateau Impney Hillclimb. I raced the car last year at the Festival Speed. And to try and learn something front-wheel drive, I came mainly from rear-wheel drive. So to try and learn John's driving style, having that one wheel smoky the whole time is always going to be a challenge. But I'm slowly getting there, I think.
Good stuff. So, I mean, John obviously something of a Mini legend, and he's clearly seen this recreation of his car because he signed it for you.
Totally, that's it. He actually helped us build it as well. I mean, the engine and gearbox, the steering column, all of the gauges inside, the seat, his original seat was in there as well. Basically, he cleared out the top of his loft, all the arches and everything from his original car as well. So all spare bits that he kind of accumulated into his loft that he then helped us put together.
Although I am slightly worried it's going to rain because the signature looks a little bit like it might rub off.
Yes, well, we always think it's nice to leave the signature as it is, but we obviously do need to get him to redo it at some point. It's all signed as well on the inside, so yes, but that's something on the cars for the moment.
Good stuff. No, it's a fabulous looking car. And obviously a really lovely tribute because it's 60 years of Mini.
Well, that's it, exactly. I mean, obviously there's a real nice turnout of Minis this weekend. Some really quick drivers as well. So I think the hill climb is obviously very challenging as it is. So being with such good drivers around me as well, it's going to be a real challenge this weekend, but I'm looking forward to it.
David Brazel in the 1956 Jaguar D-Type, the long nose in Ecuria Cross colours, 6-cylinder XK engine, 3.4 litre, classic Le Mans winning style. And Brazel pushing on hard in the pre-61 sports racers over 2.2 litres. It's a big car around the hills and around the roundabouts that they never had at Le Mans. 49.51 is a spirited time. This will be a spirited run as well from Sarah Thorne. 1958 Lotus 15 with a difference, with a Buick V8 difference, that is. 3.5 litre V8 stuffed in the front. Husband Malcolm's got plenty of experience here as well as everywhere else in Lotuses, and she is no slouch either. This is a very competitive time, 44.40, and another hugely exciting drive from the DB3S Aston, the 1954 Works Racer 62 Emu. Originally a coupe, it was crashed in Le Mans in 54, converted to an open car for 55, where it finished second. And what a great looking piece of machinery. Absolutely classic Aston Martin sports racer, and driven with great aplomb. More drop-dead gorgeous lines. The Maserati 250F. This is Neil Dyer in the 55 version of the car. These cars won the Formula One World title for Maserati before the factory withdrew from Grand Prix racing, and Sterling Moss rates it as the most driver-friendly car he ever raced, and there's a man who ought to know. It is fabulous looking. What a stunning sound these cars have, and super successful in their time. Tanya Pilkington giving her Cooper the beans off the line. This is a Type 43, 2 litre 4-cylinder rear engined, built for Formula 1 and Formula 2. And Sterling Moss, that man again, took his first ever win in a mid-engine Cooper like this back in 1958. This is a year older, 57, Tanya Pilkington, charging hard up the hill. 52.75 for Neil Dyer's Maserati 250F. She'll be considerably quicker with a 49.0. And so will Will Nuttall here in his 1960 T53, the same model in which Jack Brabham won his first Formula One crown. This is a very quick run. Heralded in the rear-engine revolution in Formula One, disposing of competitors like the Maserati 250F, and he does that with the fastest time overall, 41.22. John Doubleday in his Fraud Cortina, not a standard car with its 5.7 litre Ford V8, rather than the 1600cc twin cam that it might have had in Lotus mode. 1967 Mark II Ford. That's a big old beast up the front. I bet it understeers more than a little. Great effort though from John Doubleday. And he goes to a 48.95. Grant Williams in his very familiar Mark I Jaguar, the 1959 car driven by Roy Salvadori famously. And by one, its very famous number plate. He always makes it look like it's a bank heist. Grant Williams throws the car around as if it's worth nothing, and he'll be handing it back to its happy owner very shortly. But in fact, he has a number of these cars that he races and hill climbs, and he is absolutely the showman as well. Look at that beautiful stuff. He goes 50.87 for this production saloon car category from 1950 to 1967, dominated by, well, Sir Alec Isigonis' greatest creation, perhaps the Mini, out in great numbers for the 60th anniversary. This is Matt Clark's. Not going to threaten the big boys perhaps on capacity. Might do if it rained. He's quickest in class, 44.86. Another Mini, although it doesn't look like one because it's badge engineered as a Riley Elf with a boot and a bonnet. Wolsey Hornet was the other booted bonneted version. Austin and Morris made Minis and Travellers and vans, pickups, and with the right running gear they could all go just as quickly almost as a factory car. This is a very quick run indeed. From Phil Anning in the Riley Elf and Charles Rainford in the John Rhodes recreation. Well, second fastest is the Riley Elf, 45.08. And Charles Rainford ends up with a 46.06. Will Nuttall, top of the pile now from James Stewart Baxter and Mark Woodhouse. In the past at Chateau Impney Hillclimb there have been some demonstration motorbike runs, but now for 2019 there are competitive runs up the course, and the times were extremely close to those set by the cars. Not all of them concentrated on speed, but some definitely had what it took. Glyn Poole on his Honda CR was fastest in the under 350cc class. Callum Short on the KTM quickest in the under 500cc category. But it was another KTM in the hands of Tom Short who claimed the top step in the 750cc class as well, perhaps to nobody's great surprise, as being the fastest bike overall with a 39.95. In the biggest class, the bikes came up to 1300cc, and it was Stuart Mills who wrestled his machine up the hill, fastest of all. Simon and Jane Foster took top honours in the sidecar race.
Everyone who's competing here this weekend is looking to claim the Ken Wharton Memorial Trophy. Ken was the local racing hero from Smethwick in the Midlands. He competed in sports cars and Grand Prix back in the 1950s, although he's probably best remembered for winning the British Hill Climb Championship for 4 consecutive years, a record that still stands. So, who will be leaving the Chateau Impney here this weekend with that impressive trophy? It's time to find out.
Here we go then into the shootout with David Giddens in his Lotus 23 1600cc 4-cylinder sports racer. Always quick on the hills, very competitive. The record from Malcolm Thorne last year, 38.86. And David Giddens in the Lotus charging towards a 40-second mark, 40.75. Now here is the other end of the scale with the 5-litre V8 Lola T160 of Tom Walker. Big banger sports car in the Can-Am mode. Looks fabulous, always looks quick, but it's not very wieldy. with lower track temperatures than scorching 2018. Will he be competitive? It's a 39.14. Justin Mayers in the Lola T70. The car with gearbox issues, still quick. Now, Justin Mayers pushing on hard, just trying to keep all that raw horsepower under control in the big Lola. Drills it out of the chicane, charging through the final left-hander. And too much throttle at the line. Luckily, there's nothing in the way. Goodness me, 40.82. Not for want of trying. I think he enjoyed that. We've had pre-68 sports racers, now pre-68 racing cars up to 1500cc. This is George Diffie's Lotus 20, 1961 machine. And you can see just how achingly gorgeous these early wingless Lotuses were in any category. Decent looking run, but 44.21, that won't take the trophy. Jack Woodhouse, former winner, might do though, in his Lotus 2022, an updated Lotus 20. 1100cc four-cylinder engine at the back, Renault gearbox. Winner here in 2015, winner in 2017. Whoa, playing fast and loose. This is very aggressive indeed from Jack Woodhouse. Great nimble little Lotus. He knows the car really well. Always campaigns it with great verve, little too much grass perhaps out of the roundabout, flicking the markers all the way through the chicane. Jack Woodhouse, 39.52, that's second. Now then, here's Malcolm Thorne, last year's winner and record holder, 38.86 in the Lotus 35. 1600cc, super lightweight, single-seater. And it doesn't have to be the most powerful car to be the quickest up here. And a very good run, but only third fastest for Malcolm Thorne. Martin Jones, Braden Beattie 21B, our 2016 winner in the shootout again. Now looking to get in under the 40-second barrier, and at the moment it's looking good. 3 cars under 40 seconds. Malcolm Thorne, Jack Woodhouse, and current leader Tom Walker. This is a real shot from Martin Jones. Up through the chicane. Neatly done. Is he going to be close enough? I think time is against him. Will he break 40 seconds? It's going to be very close, but I don't think he's in the top 3. He's not. 40.09. Confirmation of our finishing order. Malcolm Thorne third, but still holds the hill record. And our winner for 2019 is Tom Walker.
And moving finally on to the most prestigious award of the day, the fastest time of the day goes to, in his Lola T160, Mr. Tom Walker.
So the big cars are hard up the hill. If you've got a little nippy car, they're a bit easier. To be fair, a Lola's a great car, so you're always in with a chance. I mean, to come here in the lovely part of Worcestershire, you know, and we've had the most brilliant day. Chateau Impney, you couldn't have a better venue, could you?
Well, it's always great coming along to the Chateau Impney Hillclimb, and we've had plenty of thrills and spills this year, but I'm afraid to say the time has come to say goodbye. But worry not, we'll be able to do it all again next year.